This is Barry J. Solomon, father of 5, creator of the Legacy Tribe. Legacy, 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 legacy. Today's video, we're going to talk about, your mother-in-law. Now, you want to stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to share something with you at the end, and you're going to want to get a glimpse of what I have to share with you at the end of this video after we finish talking about your mother-in-law and how it can be a stressful situation for some of us dealing with our mother-in-laws. If you've been following this training, it's all about stress and not putting a band-aid on stress. I'm not talking about, this is not about coping with stress, because that just puts a band-aid on it. It just makes the problem, it's still lingering. The problem is still there. It's just temporarily pushed to the side. So that's not my intentions for this 7-day series. This is day number 2 in the stress, not stress management, but stress elimination series. So I'm going to share this quick story about, it's kind of an exercise, but not really, but it's an example of how this particular person handled the stressful situation of mother-in-law. So there was this guy, and he read these books on compassion. So he read this book that Gandhi wrote on compassion. He read this book that Mother Teresa wrote on compassion. And he learned all these things, all these intellectual, philosophical things about being compassionate, being compassionate. And he learned these examples not from his own life, but from someone else's life, from someone else's experiences. And so here he's driving down the road one day, and he gets this call from his wife saying that this weekend, which happens to be in about 2 days, they're going to be going to her mom's house, which is his mother-in-law. And so all of a sudden, he remembers way back when, 10 years ago, when, or whatever, a couple years ago, when his mother-in-law said something to him that hurt him. You know what? And it was about 10 years ago. And so he went back in time while he was driving. After reading these books on compassion, all of a sudden he was jolted by that uncomfortable feeling of being around his mother-in-law because of what she said to him all those years ago that really hurt his feelings, or hurt him in some kind of way, hit some kind of chord or something. And so he had this program in his mind, this idea of his mother-in-law. And so he began to feel this anxiety, and there was this blood rushing to all through his body, and he felt he felt stressed out. And it was 2 days before seeing his mother-in-law. So imagine that. He's all stressed out driving, and he's not even in front of his mother-in-law yet. Quick side note, think of all the times, think of a time when you got all upset and all stressed out about something that hadn't even happened yet, or may not even ever happen, but just because somebody mentioned something that could happen, and now you're all bent out of shape and all stressed out because of something that never even happened yet. I know people that do that all the time. You say something, and then they go crazy and ballistic over something that hasn't even happened yet, or might not ever happen. And so he had this idea, this chemical idea in his brain about his mother-in-law. So how did he fix it? He used some of these books. Now, we're having a conversation here, me and you, we're having this conversation. I want this to be like a, sort of like a conversation. We're just hanging out on the porch, or hanging out wherever in the living room. Well, I'm outside now, but my first video, I was just indoors in the office. But we're just having a conversation. And so, mother-in-law. So here he is. He's driving down the road. He's having all these issues in the car, just based on a phone conversation. So how did he handle it? How did he handle it based on those books that he read, those books on compassion from Mother Teresa and Gandhi? So he had this knowledge on what to do. So here's what happened. So what he did was he began to look at his mother-in-law in a different way. He began to feel this compassion for his mother-in-law. He began to look at his mother-in-law in a different way, from a different lens, so to speak. And instead of seeing her as this irritating person who makes all these irritating comments, who says stuff about him that he doesn't like, who maybe he doesn't like the way didn't like the way she smelled, or didn't like just the whole her whole aura, he could not stand it. But what he did was he changed his mind to have a new experience with his mother-in-law. So instead of seeing all these negative things about his mother-in-law, he decided to start seeing his mother-in-law as a person. He started seeing his mother-in-law as somebody who actually has some of the same qualities that he has. He started to see a little bit of himself in his mother-in-law. And so he changed his idea. He changed the image in his brain, the picture on his mind of his mother-in-law to a new image. And by changing to a new image, it allowed him to have a new experience, a different experience ahead of that dinner with grandma. And that was how he was able to, when the time came out, I know, it's when you read it in a book, it's different than when you actually experience something. I know, because I have experienced some situations over the past few days where, you know, I had to keep control, had to keep my composure, I had to keep my smile and just focus on something different. I had to pay attention to something different other than what the person was telling me. And I had to see things from a different lens. I had to see the world from a different lens. And so when he got at the dinner table with his mother-in-law 2 days later, he already had this new image of his mother-in-law as being a real person, as really listening to some of the things that she says, he saw her as some of the things that she said were actually not that bad, and the way she smelled actually was not that bad. And when he saw her, when he walked through the door, he commented on her hair. Hey, you have a nice hairdo. And he just had this whole entire new image in his mind of his mother-in-law before he even got to the house. And so that, because he had that experience in his mind before actually walking into the house, it allowed him to have a different experience once he walked in the house. So I hope this is making sense to you. If it is, leave a comment below. Say, hey, this makes sense. I understand what you're saying. I understand about creating a new image of this person so that I don't find myself having a heart attack in this stressful situation with my mother-in-law when the time comes. And so that's all I have for today. I don't want to keep these long. I know your time is limited. I want to respect your time, and this is now keeping this short as I close this training session, this example. I really wanted to just give you an example today of how this particular guy got through this particular stressful situation simply by creating a new image in his mind of his mother-in-law. So now, for those of you, if you stuck around till the end of this video, I think it's about 15 minutes, maybe less, a little bit less. I told you I was going to share something with you that will be valuable to you. So for those of you who stuck around, I want to share this with you. Now, on my first video, I kind of shared it on my first video, but I didn't give you a visual image of what I wanted to share with you. The book is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you are into the law of attraction, if you are into personal development, if you are into eradicating and completely getting rid of stress in your life, go get this book. The example, the story that I just told you about, which Joe goes into a lot more depth in his book, but it's found on page 131. I'm saving you the trouble of even having to read all the way to that page. Get that book. If you're having an issue with your mother-in-law, if you're about to go see your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, or whoever you have a stressful issue with, if whatever relative you have that you don't like for whatever reason, and you're going to have to go deal with that person, get that book, go to page 131, read it 10 times if you have to where when you get in front of that person, you have a completely different experience. Believe me, it works. Look, let me get close. Look, listen. This stuff works. If you actually do it, it actually works. And I can't wait to get to the part of the book where it has these meditation exercises where I'm just gonna let you get the book and let you feel, let you see what I see, let you experience what I have been experiencing since I've been reading this book. I have not been able to put it down. But anyway, this is day 2. Tomorrow, day 3, I'm going to go over some exercises. We're just going to do an exercise tomorrow that's going to allow you to, when you're hit with a stressful situation, it's going to allow you to hit it. When that situation hits you in the face, you'll have a resource to deal with it and to do more than just deal with it, but to actually eradicate and get rid of that stress at that particular time. It won't even bother you anymore. Whatever bothers you at work or that one person, it won't even bother you anymore. What they say, how they look, it won't even faze you anymore. So that's tomorrow. Thanks for watching. My name is Barry J. Solomon, father of 5, creator of the Legacy Tribe, and you have been watching how to eradicate, how to completely rid your life of stress. And I'm basically sharing with you stuff that I have learned, stuff that I have experienced, and stuff that I have actually practiced as far as stress management, not stress management, but getting rid of it completely to where you don't stress at all whatsoever in life. Thanks for watching. Barry J. Solomon, Legacy Tribe. Legacy, 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 legacy.